Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is I, your pal on wheels, Corey Hot Wheels, coming at you with another video. And in this video, I'm going to be giving you guys my opinion on a couple things. And both of these opinions, or how many ever, I have two off the top of my head right now, but there could be more. Opinions are going to be on gaming. So, my first thing that I want to talk about is the switch to digital cartridges. Okay. A lot of people were very upset about, what Nintendo and other third-party companies that are making games for the Switch 2 are doing with these digital cartridges. Here's my thing. And I would recommend going and watching RGT85. He did a great job covering this and really explaining it on several of his videos. He talks about, the Nintendo Switch 2 quite often. But, I want to talk about something that I don't think a lot of people were talking about, or maybe a lot of people don't realize. Here's the thing. We haven't really, some of the games throughout, let's go back to the start of the PS4 and the Xbox One generation. Some of those games might have had the full game on the disc, but you still had to download it. Even when you buy a physical game these days, right? And I said this on my MLB The Show video that I did. If you haven't watched that, go watch it. The games are not on the full disc anymore. Like, I got NBA 2K24. I bought it off Amazon because, it was a good deal for the Kobe Bryant edition. And, I popped in the disc, it took maybe a minute tops to copy the disc, before it started downloading the rest of the data. And I got on the game and I'm sitting here thinking, okay, I'll do some exhibition or go ahead and start the my career mode. Nope. I was able to do one thing and one thing only until that game was fully installed. And that was it. Literally threw me in the game with, I think it was the Lakers and somebody else. I didn't even get to pick. I think it was the teams that, were in the NBA Finals that year. I don't really watch the NBA Finals unless, the Cavs or the Heat are in it, because those are the two basketball teams I follow. So, that full game was not on that disc. And that's the thing. It's we're still going to be able to trade in, these games that, we buy, for the Nintendo Switch, just like we have been, for the PS4, Xbox One, Series X, PS5, whatever. It's just the full game is not on that cartridge. Do I miss the days of just popping in the game and playing it? Absolutely. 100%. But, unfortunately, that's just not the age we're in anymore. And, excuse me. And, we're just at a different time. And I also talked about this on my, latest gameplay video that I did of MLB The Show, that my local Walmart, they just don't carry a lot of games. It's either games I already have or games that have been released for a while, I mean, they don't have a good selection. Now, some Walmarts have a much bigger selection, but, it's like, you have to think, it's like, why would people like me, like, the closest GameStop to me is 45 minutes away. The one closer to me shut down on the 12th of April. And it's just like, now, if there's a really good deal on a disc game, like it's like $15, $20, even like less than 10, it's like, sure, I'll get it. Like, I mean, I'm not against buying disc-based games. I still like buying disc-based games. But the majority of the time, especially when it's a new release and it's something I want to play right out of the gate, it's just easier to download it. Instead of driving, 45 minutes, to pick up a copy of the game. Because, especially at my local Walmart that's literally right over the bridge from me, they're reorganizing it right now, so God only knows if they're going to have, the new release game. Because I want to get that Mindsight game, because that game looks really, really cool. It looks really, really fun. I hope it's not a major letdown, but, it's just, for a lot of people, it's just not worth it to buy the physical game anymore. Considering, the gas you gotta pay to get to the store to get it, the distance you have to drive. It's just easier to sit and download the game. I mean, my mom and I were talking about it today, like, COVID killed shopping, and I think there's a truth to that, but also it's like, and I get it, a lot of the times, if you just want the standard game, like you don't want any of the deluxe or anything like that, it is sometimes cheaper to get the disc-based game. But, like me, like, I want the full edition. Now if it's just got cosmetics and all that, then I'm like, yeah, I don't really care. But if it's got, like, extra story DLC or, like, anything like that, or weapons or whatever that, because sometimes the deluxe editions or even the ultimate editions, they're only digital. You can only buy them digital. I mean, does that make me sad as somebody who has collected video games for, since I've been a teenager? Yeah, I mean, that sucks, but it's just the way that it is. But, it's like, people thought Nintendo was going to go the route of what Xbox wanted to do in 2013. And that's like, if you get a cartridge and you put it in your system, it's only going to read to that system. You can't resell it. I mean, would that have made me mad? Yeah. Because, I mean, I sell and trade games all the time, Because sometimes, like, especially if a game has a deluxe edition, you could get everything, in the bundle cheaper than you can just buying the extra DLC for the game. So, like, sometimes it's just better, like, for me to do digital. And I hate that that's, like, I'm don't, because, like, even with movies, like, years ago I said, oh, I'm dying with my physical media. Like, I'm not, like, I need that disc. I need it. I want that in my hands. And now I'm just like, I got rid of my movie collection, 2 years ago, and I still haven't regretted it. I mean, I could pretty much pull up any movie I want to watch. I mean, I don't really watch a whole lot of movies that much, unless it's, something like a Marvel movie or a series I'm into that I really want to watch. But, if I want to buy it, I just buy it on Vudu. And I get it, you don't own the digital copy of the movie, but, I mean, and I know movies are different than video games, but it's like with the video games, it's like take The Crew, that Ubisoft made, and they shut down all the servers. It was an online-only game. Like, even if you have the disc and you put it in, yeah, you're going to get to the startup menu, but you can't do nothing in the game. It was all online. Same thing with Concord, the flop that was. People bought the disc of the game, and it's like, it's literally just a collector's item now, because you can't use it. The disc is no good. Disc have essentially become a placeholder. And that's all it is. It's a key for you to access the game. Now if there's single player offline stuff, then you're covered. But if it's an all online game and they shut down the servers, I mean, you're screwed. That sucks. That's just the way that it is. But, enough talking about that. We could beat that to a dead horse. But there's another thing I really wanted to discuss. And it's something that, I feel passionate about it. Like, I feel pretty confident in it that this is going to happen. And, I'm like 99% sure it's going to happen. Like, I will die on this hill because I firmly believe that it's going to happen sooner rather than later. But, before I get to that, I want to talk about, Gears of War Reloaded. And sorry, I'm kind of stuffed up for some reasons. Usually at night before I go to bed, I get really stuffed up. But, Gears Reloaded is coming to the PS5. And a lot of people are very upset. They're like, well, Xbox is devaluing their hardware. There's no incentive to buy an Xbox anymore. If they're going to make all their games for PlayStation and PC, then what's the point in buying an Xbox? Well, I have an opinion on that. And this is the hill that I said, I would die on. Like, I firmly believe that this is going to happen, and I think we're going to see it sooner rather than later. And Xbox is going to become a PC. Well, and you're probably thinking, well, what do you mean by that? What I mean is, think about devices like the ROG Ally, the Legion Go. We could throw the Steam Deck in there, but that doesn't run Windows natively. The ROG Ally and the Legion Go are essentially a consoleized PC. They run Windows, but, you don't have to have, like, the whole mouse and keyboard thing. I mean, you can, but you don't have to. I mean, you could do everything that you want to do, just on that system. Now, do I think a lot of that would run well on the system? No. Like, when I had my ROG Ally for, like, the day that I had it, just because stuff would just not run on it for me. Like, I tried to get on the Legacy Games launcher. Because, I like playing those, like, murder, mystery, point-and-click games. Those games would not run. Like, at all. Like, but, this is not about me talking about the ROG Ally. But I think that the Series X is going to have Windows on it. Like, I think that, I'm thinking they're going to start talking about this on that June 8th showcase that they're having. That we are going to see Windows on Xbox. You can run your games that you have on Steam, Epic Games, Prime Gaming, Ubisoft Connect. Any game that you have on any PC store, you can run it on that Xbox. And it's going to be a consoleized PC, You could use mouse and keyboard, and mouse and keyboard might be required for some games. But, we do see that, a lot of consoles are supporting mouse and keyboard input for certain games. So I think that is where Xbox is going. They are essentially going to be a third-party console. They are going to be the bridge between an Xbox console and a Windows PC. You're not going to be able to upgrade the parts and do, any crazy, video editing or whatever on it like you can on a Windows PC. But you're going to be able to do basic tasks and, run all the different games that you have across the different PC libraries that are available. And I think that's a really cool thing because, I love my PC. Don't get me wrong. But, some days when I just want to press a few buttons, get into my game and play. I don't want to, go over and turn on my PC, then grab my mouse and keyboard and log everything in. I just want to boot up the game and play it. And I think that's essentially what it's going to be. It's going to be the entryway for people into PC. Because, I'll be honest, if my Xbox can run Windows, I'm not getting rid of my Windows PC, my gaming PC, because, I know there's still going to be stuff that I can do on that I, won't be able to really do on my Xbox, different things a computer can do that a console can't, but it's like you have the Microsoft Surface lineup, right? It's a Windows-branded computer. And here's the thing. You don't think that Microsoft gets a cut of every HP PC that's sold, every Dell PC that's sold? Any gaming laptop that's sold? You don't think Microsoft gets a cut of that? Because especially the pre-built PCs, those companies that build those PCs, Dell, HP, whatever, they're paying Windows for that license for Windows 11. And even when you custom build your PC, you have to get an access key for Windows. That's not free. Do I like that Microsoft's jacking up the price on the Xbox? No, I don't think it's worth it. Especially when you haven't released any upgrades on the hardware since it launched in 2020. Do I think there really needs to be any upgrades? No, I think the Series X runs just fine the way it is. But I think there's one reason. Corporate greed's a big part of that. Microsoft's just being a little greedy. But there's one thing, and this is my take. They're putting Windows on Xbox, and that extra $100 that we're paying, if you don't have a Series X and you want to go buy one right now, and you're paying $599, is for Windows. That's my theory. That's why they're moving all of those games, like all their exclusives like Halo, Gears, Forza, all of those games on other platforms. Because it's like, you know, Microsoft doesn't care if you own a Surface or not. You know, the Surface is geared toward different people. But if you want a gaming computer, you're going for another brand other than Microsoft. The Xbox is essentially going to be Microsoft's gaming computer that is just a pre-built PC. That's all it is. You know, that's my take. And like I've said, I'm willing to die on the hill because I firmly believe in my heart of hearts that is what's going on. You know, our Xboxes, as we know it, are going to change. And that is because, you know, if you buy an Xbox from, you know, whenever, even because they said that they're putting Windows on their PCs that they're launching in 2028 or 2027, whenever, I think they're going to do it on the Series X first to test the water. And they should, because then they can work out all the bugs and the kinks and all that and know how to develop their next one. But, you know, we're not just going to be buying Xboxes to play Gears and Halo and Forza. You know, it's going to be, people are going to buy Xboxes if they don't want all the hassle and the stuff and all the part picking and all that comes with PC gaming. But that's my take. I've ranted for 22 minutes and change now, so you guys know my opinion. You might agree with my opinion, you might not. I don't care. It's just my opinion. So, anyway, guys, hopefully you enjoyed this video, and as always, I will talk to you guys in the next video, and happy gaming. Whatever platform you play, just have fun gaming. It's supposed to be fun. I know it's getting pricey, but just have fun with it. Later, guys.